Hello and welcome to Cinemondo with Kathy and Amit from D54.
Hello.
He has a channel that goes deep diving into Malayalam films, and we do everything. We just do whatever.
Yeah.
So how's it going?
Good to come here. No, it's good. It's good. It's great to be here. It's awesome to be here. Nice to talk about Tamil movies.
Yeah, I know. I bring you over here when you can go outside of your Malayalam.
Yeah. The Malayalam bubble. No, I love crime movies too. So this was a great one actually. So pretty looking forward to talk about this one with you. It's I think it had a lot to offer, a lot to like. I mean, I heard good things about it. So even coming in, like the buzz, the PR, the word of mouth, I think actually more than anything was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, was definitely getting a lot of requests to cover this movie. We'd done a trailer reaction, and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, this looks kind of good." I love a good, dark, gritty crime drama. It almost had a kind of True Detective vibe to me, a little bit, just kind of calm and weird and creepy, not big and bombastic or anything. It had that great trope of like the new cop with the old grizzled cop, how they don't get along.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think obviously that's a huge trope, and I've seen it in Hollywood time and time again, but I've not seen it so much in Indian movies, to be honest. Maybe it's just what I've seen.
That's cool.
Because it had elements of like buddy cop as well. Not sure if you felt that, like, especially at the start and at the end. I was like, hey, I haven't seen this too much, like like a Lethal Weapon or like like a Rush Hour or any of those sort of buddy cop, like two cops and they're just sort of getting along, and there's some good banter in this, and there's some serious moments at the start, I think, with the new cop being exposed to, I think, the dead body.
That was funny. He was kind of weak in the stomach, like he was kind of unprepared for the realness of cop, the gross things cops have to do. And they didn't hold back on it either. I mean, these are pretty nasty murders, like especially sadistic, and they kept showing them kind of over and over again because it was the same. The woman being, she was tied, she had her throat slit. See, what was the vibe? First, they feel like she's been kneeling and she had her throat slit, and then he tied her up, or was it the other way around? I don't remember, but it was just that torturous, terrible, dominating the woman thing. It was just, it's like kept finding these bodies that were all the same, and it was like, so much.
No. Well, it was pretty brutal. It was some pretty bad murders. But I guess I guess they balanced that pretty well, because if they showed us any more of that side of things, I would have been like, this is getting like a little too much. But I'm sure like they showed enough to create that sort of disgust in us, like how much we hate this killer. Yeah. But then it moves on to the more procedural side, which I enjoy quite a lot more. Like actually trying to find the killers, and that I think that was probably my favorite part of the movie. Like just their detective work to try and get to the bottom of this.
I like that too. And they're two different approaches. Like he was sort of the book smart, young book smart cop, and the other one's like, I just go with my gut, that kind of. And it was fascinating to see the two balancing that philosophy together, because they technically almost worked better together than even separately. Because the cop who's like, I just know it when I see it, and when the cop is explaining, well, the body temperature drops by this much, and this is how he's kind of like, oh. Well, that's good to know. All of a sudden it was now we have a time of death. I don't know if that's exactly accurate, because, depends on the external temperatures. And this is coming from someone who loves true crime shit. So I'm just saying. So I have a very high bar a high tolerance when it comes to the murder part, the disturbing parts, this was a classy middle ground. It wasn't too gross. They didn't pull their punches too much. It was like kind of nice right in the middle, where you felt like there were some stakes. It was really brutal. You really want them to catch this guy. It wasn't like they didn't show anything and it was all kind of clean and whatever. It was not pretty. Not pretty.
No. But I mean, on the whole, how the two cops sort of worked, I love how dismissive the older cop was. Forget his name. SP Loganthon. He was like, just like, you ain't shit. Like,
he just had no time. He's like, why does he have to be with me?
Exactly. He was so dismissive, and like almost like there's a scene when they're in the in the hotel room. he's like studying, and he's like making fun of him or like abusing him, and I'm like, this is too much, man. Leave the poor guy alone.
Hey, he's trying to learn. That was really bad. I guess it was just even more showing like how to me it showed insecurity, because I think the cop who just kind of did it without knowing everything felt like this guy was kind of threatening his authority by being smarter than him or something. So you kind of, as much as he was trying to be dominant, it just sort of made him look more insecure to me. Like, which is the classic. The only thing they were missing was like, I only have a week till I retire. This is my last case. That's
yes.
They didn't do that, which I was glad that didn't happen. Yeah. I was like, well, one's definitely going to die if that's the case.
Yeah. No, they didn't do that because, I mean, don't want to jump ahead, but this was like the first of many. Like, it looks like this is setting itself up for a bit of a franchise, which I'm actually pretty excited about.
I would like to see that. To see that. It should be a series. Definitely. They could have that older cop, younger cop, always, almost like, wasn't exactly like X-Files, but they had the one who's doing it by the book and one who's doing it with theory. And, just the two very distinct, philosophies going side by side, solving the same crime. I just love that idea. It's just addictive.
It is.
It was really good.
Definitely.
And so that's how they set it up. They set it up as like, here comes in the new guy who wants to learn the ropes, get in there, and he can barely stand to look at autopsies because, as we all know, when everyone sees their first one, you just run out and throw up. That's what you do. That's your rite of passage, I should say. Then we're kind of moving on to, like you said, like the procedural aspect. We're starting to put together. He's starting to figure out like, this guy is suspicious. I'm going to go find out this guy. What exactly? I'm trying to think back. What was the first clue that led him to that guy? Like, why did he go to the guy's house alone? Number one, rule broken.
Yeah.
What? I can't remember why.
Yeah, I think it was something. I mean, he goes undercover, so he tells him he's his father's friend. Oh no, I think what happened was
the neighbor.
Yeah. I think he becomes a neighbor later on.
Yeah, but they were gonna surveil him.
They did something like I think it was something like they basically they went and researched other killers who had done a similar thing.
Oh, right.
Essentially, so they were like, why haven't we looked into previous killers that have killed people in this specific way? And they found somebody from like way back that did this.
That's right.
And that's the book smart. I think the book smart, the cop found that out.
Yeah, because he reads.
Yes, exactly.
So he found it was that modus operandi. They discovered the same exact killing method had been going on for years, and they were like, "What? How did this? Like, how old is this killer?" I love too where the guy's like, "It can't be him because the killer's got to be between 40 and 55 or whatever he said." Like, no, it has to be he's older, and it's just like, okay, that's not necessarily a total rule, but okay. It's like, but I like that they were trying to make that happen. Like, this is what this is, and that's always really fun. So that's what I loved is when they start going into this guy's realm. Let's see who was the actor on this. This was Sarath Babu, who and I have to say they made him look so beyond creepy that I'm like, this can't. I thought it was gonna be a fake out because sometimes when it's too obvious, you go, no, it can't be. It's just too obvious. But they kept on it for a while, and I'm thinking, well, maybe And also, this is where I always fall for it. We were talking about this before. Sometimes Indian movies, they lead you down the path and you're very comfortable with the linear thing. And then they turn it on his head and the twist comes and they did not disappoint. I was all like, oh, I guess this is him. No big, big mystery. We're just zeroing in. But then there's a lot of cool twists that come in.
Definitely. Yeah. Now, actually, it's interesting to think of the two different villains. Like the first one they spend more time on, and I think they flesh out his character a bit better than the other one. But I think, he was, the actor, Sarath Babu, they made him a creep, but man, he was killing it. He was a great villain.
Really good.
With the whole like OCD thing, he has to put everything back together. And he played the whole like, I'm an innocent old man, like, he's just going. Yeah, there's a scene when he's just like shopping, right? And he asked the other cop to, come have dinner with me. And it's like, whoa, what are we setting ourselves up for?
Don't say yes. Just say maybe a coffee here outside, not at your house.
No. I have something else to do right now. Yeah.
So I think, I guess a cop feels like they can't give up the lead. They're like, just in case. But still, when you see him, who's the younger one, who's not very experienced, decide to take him up on his offer, and he goes to his house and he walks in. I'm like, you're going into a guy's house that you do not know, that you think is a killer. But I love the way he was looking around and they were kind of showing you all the things in the house. and you're trying to pick out what's the creepy thing. What's the creepy thing? And he's kind of like, there really isn't anything creepy here. And he's like, oh, did you take all these photos? I love their say, I clicked all of these photos. He made this point. I clicked all of these photos. Like, he just kept saying that. I clicked them all. It's like, okay, dude, calm down. Okay.
We get it. We get it.
Becomes relevant later that he said that specifically, which I thought was very cool. And he says it a few times, and you're like, why do they keep impressing this? I don't know.
Yeah.
No, so that raises your suspicions too.
No, it was, they did a good job of building on that suspense, I think. Because there's another scene before the house one where he breaks in and he does everything, and then he just sees like a door locked. And then he has to leave, and it's like, ooh, what's going to be that door? Wait till later.
I know. He's like, well, there doesn't seem to be anything suspicious. Oh, wait, what's this door with the lock on it? I can't get in. Couldn't be suspicious at all. Oh, he's coming home. You got to get out of there. Okay, I'm going to. It's like, yeah, that was great.
I love that. That was really good. So it's a really entertaining movie.
It was.
Yeah, there's so many parts of it. It was like, I was like I don't know if I was on the edge of my seat about the whole movie, but there were times when I really sat up and like, whoa, what's going to happen here? A really fun movie. I'll put it like that. I really enjoyed this one. But what do you think about the before we sort of move on, the backstory? Because they went into like a whole backstory for this the first actor. The first character, Sarath Kumar's character. That was really interesting as well. What they did with that, like the mind of a psychopath, I guess.
Yeah, how you create one, I guess. It seemed like that in a way they kind of insinuated that you kind of make a psychopath and they aren't born that way, which I sort of think is a little bit of both. Like, it's probably a perfect storm thing, right? The kid already had to have some tendencies. I felt really bad. That was kind of a depressing part because it's always bad to see kids getting abused. So basically, this super creepy guy, he's really abusive to his son. I can't remember what happened to the wife, the mother. Did she leave or was she? I can't remember what happened to the mother.
I don't think they spent so much time on the wife. I don't know if she wasn't in the picture, so maybe she had passed away.
Yeah,
I'm just going to assume that because they didn't show her. I don't know.
Father and son. Yeah,
I think they have a scene of her looking. They have a scene of the son looking at the mother's like dead portrait. I think.
Right.
Unless I'm getting myself confused with like another procedural movie.
Yeah, exactly. But, I know I've seen so many lately. I'm like, which one was this?
Yeah.
But they showed all the abuse with the son, which was really sad, and he kept making him, clean up and being especially demanding and domineering and just weird.
Hard to watch, man. I think the first one was like he like spilled some like food on the table.
Yes,
and he like slaps him or something like that.
It was nothing. It was
watch.
It was really sad.
That was tough. And also, I don't know who the actor was. I don't know if he's even credited. The boy that played the role, he was really good.
Really good. That's right.
I always love actors that have no dialogue. That just have no dialogue and they have to deliver so much just based on the body language and the expressions. Like it's impressive to me when sort of actors do that.
It was. So he was basically like, he lived in fear that his father would just explode at any moment. He never knew when. He was never quite sure. Like, well, he knew if he did anything wrong. Even when he didn't do anything wrong, his father would kind of pull a move. So he was super afraid of anything. So when I don't remember exactly what he did, but when a woman sees him do something wrong, and she says, well, I'm going to go talk to your father. And he gets, no, don't tell my father. And you could kind of understand, like, don't tell him. It's like, you don't understand how bad this could get for this kid.
Yeah, I know. And I think I remember it was him smoking.
Like yes.
He was a teenager smoking. Like, is it really that big a deal that you have to ruin this guy's life? And then he just takes a stone and
he's like, can't let her go. He's so afraid of the dad finding out. He just takes a rock and just knocks her out. Just
cool. And
crashes her head
leads us down a pretty bad cycle.
I know. It's sort of that like, no, don't tell my father I smoke a cigarette. Do you think he'll care if I killed someone? Probably not. It'll be fine. I'll be fine if I kill someone.
He was a cop too. The father was a cop. That's
right. He was I forgot about it. So he was a super dominating jerk who was corrupt and was abusing his son. Like, he was just a terrible person overall. He, to me, was the true bad guy. Yes, these people were murderers. But he was like, you made these kids. You made this happen. Like, in a way, he's sort of self-perpetuating serial killers in the future. So So then the older cop finds out he's going to the house, that he went in the house and there's a door. And then they have to go figure that out. But he decides to go in again alone. So he goes in that room. Did he break open the door or did he follow the guy in? Didn't the guy leave him alone in there?
No. I think he was down there and the door was just open or something like that. Maybe he was doing some work because we found out it's like a studio, like
a photo development, which is always your personal dark room. Always,
yes.
That's like the number one clue for any serial killer.
Perfect setting, right? Like red lights, like pretty small room, some creepy photos around here and there.
Photos hanging up, like
exactly.
And so he finds the photo of one of the murder victims, which I thought was great. That was like, he's just kind of, and then he can't react. Like the guy comes back in, like, what? It's like, so that was a great, like, you wouldn't know that we actually watched this just the other day. I mean, so why am I still playing it? So I love that scene because the photos looked really cool. Like they were hand developed. So they had kind of a really hand done look to them. And they looked kind of old and scratchy, which also comes into play later, which I didn't even realize. That was super cool. So what do you think of that next reveal of the photos?
Oh, I love that.
It's so good, right?
That was so good. Yeah. When they sort of move the paint, when he moves the painting away, and you see all of them. I love that scene. Like that, I think that might have been that was probably my favorite part of the whole movie was that when he's sort of trapped in that room and the older cop comes and they reveal everything and it's like, whoa.
And this is what I loved about it too. They revealed it. You go, oh my God, the big reveal. And then they double down on the craziness of it by saying, these are 30 years old or like, I'm like, this can't be him. Like, I love that it became this whole, like, we haven't seen these victims. Like, this is a whole next thing. I loved that. So then you're like, holy shit, how far does this go back? What the hell is this? So I love that because that became, at this point, the movie started becoming very Brian De Palma to me. Because we had this great setup, these very, very distinct, very well written characters. They had their own personalities. Then we get the mystery, and they have this crazy mystery, and there's even a crazier mystery, and that's even more great. And so then the guy finally caught, fesses up. He goes, "Oh, you caught me! Oh, you caught me! This is what happened." He's trying to explain, and you're like, he's monologuing way too much.
Yes.
It seems like it's too, he's just like, yes, I took all those. I clicked all those. You're just like, why do you keep saying that? See, when you say you clicked them all, it makes me think someone else clicked them. Instantly suspicious, and I'm not a cop.
No. Yeah, no. It's really cool. I quite liked it. And then we find out that, as you said, that's not even the end, right? They double down and hit us with a new one. But I did also like how it was a weird ending for this character. Like I found like he was kind of like, I have a son. If he ever finds out that I did this, I'll be ruined. So I'm going to end my life. Yeah. Instead, I guess it does sort of show on his sort of insecure. It was a kind of good message because he was like, if his son finds out what he did, he's a monster just like his father was.
Yes.
So that cycle might continue, for instance. So
definitely will.
He's trying to stop that. So but there was some good messaging behind that too. I really enjoyed how much time they spent on this particular like villain. I guess we find out more about this guy than anyone else in the entire movie. We don't find out so much about the other cops. They give us a little bit of backstory. One is book smart.
Yeah, not a lot. Yeah.
They have one small scene with the older cop who has like scars on his back.
Really short, that's right. That's really short.
Comes back later on.
Yes.
They're really like, we're going to discuss backstory and let you know how he killed people, and what caused him to kill him, and his life right now with his son and what he's trying to do. So I actually was like, well, this movie is actually, he's a central character. And he's not even the main killer. So
classic. I know. And then you're like, there's another one? Another killer? There was also a great scene, I thought, before we get away from that, is when the older cop, we'll just keep older cop, younger cop, where he takes him out, he goes, we have to reenact. And so he makes the young cop so eerie, right?
So happy.
Goes, okay, this is how it happened.
That scene was so good. That scene was so good,
It was good because it made sense. Like, let's put ourselves in the space. Let's see what this tells us. And then the cop is like, is he going to kill me? Because you were kind of wondering, too. Like, he goes, okay, you be the woman. He's like, great. Okay. He's like, you kneel down. This is probably how it went down. So he takes the wire and starts putting it around his neck.
Oh, that was...
I love how he's sitting up just looking at him, like, trusting him. Like, you're not going to you're not actually going to kill me, right? But I love that it sort of put him in the space of, it's not just the books and the science. it's getting into the emotional, trying to project yourself into a killer's mind and sort of just feeling it and being in it. And I thought that was something he had not experienced. He was all in the classroom, school books, science. He was not out in the field. He was not seeing it or feeling it. So I think that was a good lesson for the older cop, even though it was terrifying and you really weren't sure what he was going to do. Yeah. But I love that. I was even in the trailer because that's such a fantastic scene. And they kind of draw it out too, which is really good. Like they gave it some space, to really get the impact. Oh, I loved that. That was great.
Oh, I loved it. The way it's shot, the setting, complete isolation. So you could be like, is this, we don't know so much about this cop at this stage. So we are kind of like, wait, are you going to actually do something here? Are you going to do something you shouldn't be doing? And it just plays on the whole power play, right? Like he's a dominating cop. You're you're the one beneath me. And let me just show you right now and reenact the scene. I haven't seen that so much.
No, like that was good. Hardcore.
They practically do it. Like sometimes I've seen it, like and they do some exposition or something like that, or they show us like a depiction of that in some other way through a flashback or through some other way. But this case, they actually showed us. No, we're on the field. Let's do it right here. So I'm really glad you brought that one up because I almost forgot about that. That was a great scene. There's a lot of really good scenes in this movie. To be honest.
They did really good. And they, and so then they introduce us to another killer who I guess is actually the current. I don't want to give too much away, but we might as well. So then we have Sarath Babu. My only problem with this movie is the killers were so obviously killers. Like what I would like to see is if someone who looked like the smart cop, the book smart cop was actually a killer. Like somebody who didn't look like a killer should be the killer. But these guys were like, of course he's a killer. Look at him. Of course he's a killer. So they go to Sarath Babu, and he's actually, I guess the current day killer. I got a little time travel-y for me. Or was he the past killer?
Sarath Babu was Sarath Babu was a previous killer who had. No, he was the one that committed the crimes like 30 years ago.
Okay, he was the flashback.
What happened with the new killer, who I don't even know if they even gave us his name.
The new killer, the old killer.
Yeah.
So confusing.
His character played by Sunil Sukhada. He was also fantastic, but I do completely agree with you there. He is like, you couldn't find a more obvious killer than this guy, man. He looks just like a killer. But I think his whole thing was like he had seen Sarath Babu's character kill, like Kennedy actually kill one of the ladies, and then he was like, let me copy your style, let me learn from you.
That's right.
And do it again. That's how he sort of does it. But it's fascinating because he breaks. I guess he is more what the older cop was saying, like the motivation for the killer, the dominating position, making eye contact. Whereas Sarath Babu was doing the opposite. He was not looking at the killer, and he felt guilt for killing them. Yeah. Whereas this guy was like, no, I'm actually enjoying the process. Like the process is for me to kill.
That's right.
So he learns from him, I guess, in a way. So that's his copycat. That's his introduction. Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's right. Copycat from someone.
Copycat, and then they, in a way, kind of almost camouflaged each other by making it seem like so many. I love the resolution where they're finding the guy. There are a few great scenes where they find him because the birds kind of flutter away and they kind of figure out where he is. But then I love the scene where it's like then the cop gets taken out. The grizzled cop gets stabbed, right? And you're like, oh shit. So now it's up to the book smart cop who's never done anything. I love where he's gonna try and shoot the guy, but the gun doesn't work, so he just throws it at him.
Yeah.
And then the guy catches it and then shoots him with it. That was like so funny and so great. It worked in the show, but in the movie. But I'm sitting there thinking that was pure comedy. It was supposed to be scary, but at the same time, it's like, damn, pistol doesn't work. He throws that guy. Dead.
Done.
I really enjoyed that. That
was pretty good. No. I think it was a callback to an earlier scene because at the very, very start, they spent a little bit of time when he's getting like introduced as a cop and his family is really happy for him. Yeah, and I think he has like a cousin or something like that, or like a younger sibling. I don't know who exactly he was, but he threw a phone at him. And he catches it like that.
He's a really good catch.
Yeah. The same way he caught the gun. So it's like kind of a callback, which I was like, oh, okay,
foreshadowing.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that. And that was kind of funny too. So you're thinking, well, of course he's good at catching things. So people are throwing shit at him all the time. But I mean, overall, I mean, this was, I think, a really good, solid, fun watch. It was like a really, lots of good twists. I didn't really know what was going to happen. I mean, I thought the killer was too obvious, but then it turns out it wasn't really him. So it wasn't that obvious. Well, sort of was him. It was him and not him at the same time. He clicked them all though. Clicked all of them.
He did.
But I did enjoy it. It was pretty grounded. There wasn't any big action set pieces really. It felt very, real, and the realism was brought home, and I enjoyed the relationship. And like you said, I hope there's sequels because I enjoyed the two together. They were fun together, and I could see them even bringing a little more camaraderie and maybe even a little bit of humor with that relationship. Definitely. I think that could be really fun. But what were your final thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, no, I really enjoyed this. I think they did. I think because again, I think the whole they really started developing some banter towards the end as well. Like that last scene in the car when he's like, where I've been, we've been assigned a new case, and he's like, wipe that smile off your face, and some of the sort of lines they have there I thought was pretty good. I'm like, right, this is setting up for some pretty good banter. So if they do, I'm sure they are doing a sequel for this. In fact, I'm positive because this I'm assuming is like probably like a lowish budget movie. I'm not seeing like a Rajinikanth or any. I'm not seeing any huge names in this one that I obviously know.
That's true.
So I think it's probably safe to just do another one of these. Other thing I wanted to mention was there's also this actress Nikhila Vimal. Who plays Veena, like the technical assistant or something?
Oh yeah.
They hinted at some like romance between her and the main younger cop. I think because they definitely, if they do, which they will do a second one, they definitely have something there to continue that with, right? Like they can start a love story there. Which would be nice, I think, because this movie, mostly we don't normally see movies that don't have any like romance, but police procedural sometimes don't have that side so much.
Yeah.
So they have a lot to work with here. They have two cops.
They do.
One's older, one's younger, one's learning. They could potentially introduce, higher stakes for the older cop, for instance, with his life being on the line or something like that. The younger cop would be more experienced. And there's also, I don't know if you've seen this other movie from the Tamil industry called Ratsasan. Have you seen that?
Yes, I loved that. Oh my God, that was pure Brian De Palma. That was Brian De Palma times 10. That one went full.
Yeah.
I loved that movie.
That one was a really good movie.
It was so twisted.
That one was really twisted. So I think this will obviously get comparisons with that movie.
Yes.
I think this movie probably is not on the same level of craziness. Like that movie got to like
that one went
some really, really crazy places.
It was a little off the rails.
It did. Oh no, it did. At the end, the villain in that movie was basically like an X-Men or something like that. Like they were like throwing cards around and stuff, approaching things like that. That was getting
strange.
That was getting crazy.
And I loved it before that. Even just the idea of sending body parts on these little cute boxes. That was so great. So great.
No, that was really good. That movie was really good. We should definitely do a follow-up to that one if you haven't done it already. But in terms of this has the potential to have more of like an extended life. I think you could see this movie going like 2, 3, 4, which is as I said, this would be like a Lethal Weapon or something like that.
Totally.
Because again, like I just think that potential because it's not a huge budget in this movie, so they can do something like this, and it was a huge success. So people are waiting for that sequel.
Oh, good! It was a success. I wasn't sure at the box office. That's great.
At least word of mouth was really good. So
sure seems like it. I hear about it all the time. So I mean, you don't hear these things bubbled on top that often. So
especially for a non tier 1 actor, again, no big names, and it's done so well. So positive signs. Yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what they sort of do next. It was great. Really enjoyed it.
So I have a poster. Let's see. It totally looks like this could be the first of a series where it's like here are two characters. He's got his book because he's got his book. He got the gun. I mean, it's all pretty obvious, but I know like in the marketing they want to set them apart. So it's like we have books on one side, files on the other, and they got the murder board. Got to have that, and probably if we zeroed in, I bet if we really zeroed in this, we'd see articles and pictures from the actual case they're working on in this. The handprint on. So this is a really nice classic poster that just tells you clearly tells you what this movie's about, which is kind of nice. And I like the murder board type too. The type that's good with the little murder board pins in it.
I actually really like that. I think this movie Por Thozil, I'm not sure how you like to pronounce the ZH in Tamil and Malayalam. It's very difficult. But I think it means. I think I remember seeing it. It means the art of war or something like that. At least in the translations that showed up.
That makes sense.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's kind of a generic name, but I guess it works.
They're kind of the ones at war almost. It's like it's
correct.
not even about the killer; it's more about them, right?
Those two, correct.
I did enjoy that. No, that was funny.
Even with like all these ones that have that sort of some kind of theme. Like Ratsasan we just talked about had like the like I think the piano keys.
Yeah.
This one has like a murder board pin, so it's always pretty good to see something like that. It just makes you remember it. It's a great poster.
That was that was sort of the nice responsible cell. It's like it had a special shoot. Everybody was looking at the camera. Yeah. Whereas the Ratsasan, is that how you say Ratsasan?
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah.
It had like surreal posters. It had like spiral of keys, and it had like and I just love the little dog with the present on his collar. I used that in the but I thought that was great. Well, thank you for joining me with this one, because I thought maybe you could appreciate a really good crime thriller like I do.
Definitely. Okay. No, I love crime thrillers like this. Like, whenever it sort of one comes out, it's always hard because there's always this genre has been sort of done to death. It feels like sometimes, and it's like, oh, what are you going to do that's different? But somehow, whenever I watch them, there's always something
fresh,
a little bit different. Whether it's Malayalam or Tamil, it's always something that's like, whoa, okay, I didn't expect this, or where's this going to go? And this one had the buddy cop element to it, which I've not seen so much. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it was so fun. Be sure and visit Amit's channel, D54. I have the links in the description, and I'll see you guys later. And I'll have a mind on again. All right. Bye.
Bye.